And on your computer, I tried logging in another tab as a student and it'll boot you out, but you can toggle back and forth. So the one part, I sent out this to you and I tried to print it, but since there's the jam, I shared this with you in your email. But this is what I was gonna go over. I'm gonna go real quick on A and B, and then the part in red kind of ties into this morning to helping you out. If you wanna start doing a little bit of standards-based grading, I'm gonna try doing it in math, and there's 2 ways that I'll show you how to do that. So I will be honest, I just started clicking and playing and seeing what I could do. So if you log into Moby Max, under Classroom Tools is the first section that I'm on. You guys want me to wait for you? Or? Okay. Let me know when you're ready. And I'll tell you, at the beginning of the year, my students couldn't log in like on their iPad because, you know, as a student, you have to type in Solomon first. And what happened, we had to take an iPad down to Miss Wooster and we're like, this is the right username, this is the right password. When the students type in Solomon, there is a Solomon in Kentucky, and so you have to teach them to look for Solomon, Kansas, and then make sure it's elementary, or Elm, E-L-E-M, and not high school, because we couldn't figure out why we weren't getting in and we were registered to a school in Kentucky. Yes?
Where's Classroom Tools at? Oh, right here.
Yeah, right here. So it's the gray, Classroom Tools, and then I'm going to click on the green, the curriculum settings. I know mine's really hard to see, sorry. Do you want to log in as one of my students? Okay. Okay. So under curriculum settings, there were a couple things that I found pretty interesting, things that have popped up in my class that I thought Moby Max was doing new. And so I told my kids, I was like, oh, it's like a new promotion. It's something new they're doing. And then I figured out you could do them as many as you want. You could take them off. But if you've logged into Moby Max, like it'll say, here's your daily challenge. And so kind of this is where as a teacher you would set up what you want on their homepage or what you want to set up in the challenge. So I went ahead and all I did was I changed my school year. So I did, was the 24th our first day of school? I can't remember, does that sound right? Okay, yeah. So I did the 24th to 17th and it tells you the count there. Probably if you use it for grading, like in the reading section when they do a comprehensive exam, it'll say a 70s passing. So right here under default passing score, you can change that. So that's one that's pretty important. Also, you can change the time of school because I'll show you where you can see how much time they put in at school or home. And the one that I just tried is I'm going to try putting my kids on here for spelling. And so it'd be a good conversation to have with 3rd grade. I know you guys do A+ spelling. But really, by looking in here, you can make this cross-curricular, and I think it goes K through 8. Is that right? Is that as high as it goes for you? Okay. So I put their spelling list in. I put 2 different spelling lists in, and I logged on as a student to play around. And so far, what it has them do is just practice. It doesn't put them on there like A+ spelling would. But you can change here how many you want in your spelling list. If you do the word practice, this is just where you customize what you want them to have as a teacher. The one that's most important, I feel like, for the upper elementary is right here where it says hide for my students. If you click that, over here on hide rostering, if you do Google Classroom, you can uncheck this and it will allow them to sign up using Google Classroom. So if you want to implement that in with Google Classroom. These ones right here, also the hide for my students, I tell my kids it's like their home page, like you would on the iPad, all the tiles you see. So when a student logs on, if there's something on there you don't want them to see, this is where you check mark it and it comes off. Like, I'll be honest, last year, I don't know if it wasn't on there or if I just didn't pay attention, but like we're struggling with our phonics. And right now there's phonics tiles on there and I thought they just popped up because like the kids needed help. But you can hide those. There's alphabet ones on there. So whatever you don't want them to see, you can take that off right here. So this is kind of your section.
So the check means it's hidden, or the
yes.
check means it's...
So hide subjects for my students. So like if I would check math and click save at the bottom, math would come off.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to click back on home. I think we were lucky enough, everyone rolled over their students from Moby Max, right? Okay, so like right here on roster, same thing under classroom tools. This is like your section. It's the first one, the book bag. These are all of my students, so this would be where you'd want to go if you get a new kiddo.
Or if you have like more than one grade, you can
Oh, yeah.
group them, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Okay. The time and alerts, this one was new to me because I actually had a student tell me. But on time and alerts, under classroom tools, you can see how much time they're spending at school and home. So that's why in that first section, if you change your time to your school day, then anytime they log on outside of your school day, it's gonna count as their home time. So I mean, even if like they're an after-school program, if it was after 3:30, then it would count for their home time. Alright, and you can also assign them time. I know, wasn't it you, Megan, do you assign them time for a grade? Right, like so much time to complete. So what I figured out is like you could go in time and do that, or you can go into each little icon too and do it. Like if you just wanna assign them time in math, like 20 minutes for the week, you could do that. I've had my kids get on this year and explore for me because I'll be honest, last year the only two I did were right here. I did math and I did fact fluency, those were the only two. And so we're kind of experimenting, but the part that I'm really anxious to try are these two down here under classroom tools, the worksheets and the whiteboard activities. So I'm gonna do worksheets first. So if you wanna click the little printer. So classroom tools and worksheets, sorry. Why is it, it's like cutting off there. Okay, so select whichever grade level you want, and also along the top, you can select any content you want. So I'm just gonna stay math, and I'm gonna select my grade level, grade 2. And then a huge list will come up. Underneath, like on mine, it says social studies and language. Do you see the option where it says show lessons or show standards? Mine doesn't really show up very well, but right here. If you click show standards, then it's gonna show up to the state standards. Now I will tell you for science, I had to change mine to the new science standards. It wasn't defaulted to that. But since we're registered in Kansas with our license, it automatically does these for you. So this, remember, is a worksheet. So I just selected the first one. If you click on your first standard, it's gonna show you like an overview. And if you come over on the right side and you click the box and then hit print worksheet, the only thing that I found out that really kind of stinks is I wanted to push mine out in Shobi. And so if I did this the way I would only want to do one skill within like operations and algebraic thinking. So like adding 2 numbers, okay, not adding like 2 numbers with one unknown. So right now, if you look, all of these are checked. So what you have to do is you have to uncheck whichever ones you don't want. Because when I ran this the first time and I just did create PDF, it came out 17 pages. And so I didn't want to upload 17 pages on Shobi form. So I just went through and unchecked. And so I'm going to hop over to my Shobi and show you what I created. So in math, I went in and I just did math 2OA1. 2 knowns with a number line. And oops, so I'm making it bigger. Make it smaller.
I made everything else cool.
How's that getting better? Oh. Okay, that's as big as I guess I can make it there. But this is just one page then, and you know he talked about creating his own quizzes this morning and having 4 problems. The lowest you can do on this one is 5. But for the worksheet part, you can use ones that they have made, and you can also put in your own. So I just wanted to see what the quickest way was going to be. So I left it as 5. I just selected one objective underneath my standard, made 5 of it, and uploaded it. Okay, and so if you save it as a PDF and you put it on Shobi, I did mine in 2 minutes, just before. So that was one for math. You do have to click that you don't want the answer key included, otherwise you're going to put that up there. A reading one, I did key details in reading. So this was a worksheet again the same way. So I did R 2.1 key details. And this one's a little bit different. This one's 3 pages, so the story comes up first, reading literature, and then at the bottom in Shobi they would scroll through. And this one has, I think, 5 questions as well. So if you want to try standards-based grading and you wanted a quick, easy way that's already done, this would be an option, that you could do 5 problems. You could print it if you don't want to do the Shovie thing. The other option then is, I'm going to click out of this and click back to home. So that was under worksheets. The whiteboard activities, I didn't necessarily want it to be interactive, but if you click whiteboard activities, I already made one, so I'll show you that one first, and then I'll show you it's really easy to make one. I did this again on operations and algebraic thinking for 2nd grade.
Solve for the missing value in this addition problem, we can use a number
I
line.
didn't know what to choose, sorry.
55 plus 25 equals how much?
So you could do this as a review, like if a sub was there.
First,
I've logged
solve
mine
on
in
the
before.
number line
I'm gonna shut
at
the sound off or turn it
55
down.
for the
I've had either log them on or I have my teaching partner log them on, and this is something they could do for review like when you're gone. But I just did 5 questions, so just move it through like this. And this one again, you can use ones for Moby Max, or it'll say make your own. So I thought about doing this as like, instead of doing a quick check with Envision, if I wanted to change to more like my language or standards and teach kind of just for this one, then the language would be the same. Now I don't know how to get back out again. Oh, it's popped up. Okay. So this one, create new lesson. This is where it gives you the option to add your own or go and use what they have. So what's nice is on the worksheets and the whiteboards both, you will have all your content right there. So say you're going, okay, I want to make a quiz. All you have to remember is it's a worksheet. So go into worksheet and you're going to select whatever subject you want. So say I want to do, we'll do vocabulary. And then you want to select your grade level and then give it a name. And then click add new problem. And here's where it says to select problem for Moby Max curriculum or create a new one. So for these, I just did the Moby Max ones. So I click next. And then you can leave it as lessons, but that was hard for me if I wanted to do the standards. So you just click show standards. And it's on kindergarten, so I want to move it forward. So I'm in math. I could click whichever one I want. And then it breaks it down by what we would probably call our objectives. So like this one has 3 objectives underneath. If you would break apart adding and subtracting, then you could maybe go 4. So I'm going to click adding with unknowns, and then it breaks it down even more. So I mean, you could get really in depth, like this one I bet would have like 10 right there, because it's adding and subtracting with each operation and then an unknown or a word problem. So I'm just going to click this one, and then here's some options for problems. And what I did the first time was I just clicked one problem and save. You can do all of them, or as many as you want. So like there I clicked 4 and just save. And then here they are. And if you're like, well, what does this look like for the kiddos? You click show class viewer, and then there it is. And it reads to you, unless you turn it off. So those were the 2 new things that I thought tied into this morning, because if you want to try and give a quiz like that, I mean, it's basically done for you. You just have to print it and decide how you want to give it. I do, in the next section, I talked about like the ones that I use. So the ones that my kids have to do every day is fact fluency, and that's when you can create a daily challenge. And after this I'll talk about the rewards, but on fact fluency, if you create them a daily challenge, right before Christmas my kids had to do 250 fact fluency problems, and then they unlocked, I think it was 10 minutes of game time. And so they were sitting down and like rapid fire, that's all they wanted to do right before Christmas, because they wanted game time. And I will tell you, after 20 minutes, you can unlock a new game as well. And you can change that down here under curriculum settings. If you want, for younger kids, work 5 minutes, unlock a new game, you can change that in curriculum settings. But I use the fact fluency every day, 5 minutes right before math. And so that gives me time to get my stuff situated, like get my whiteboard going, whatever. And they do that. And I talk to them about how they can see the growth, like on the chart. And so I have several that are working on multiplication on their own, even though I'm not teaching them. And they say, well, I don't know how to do this one. And I said, well, if I tell you, you still aren't going to know how to do it. I said, so if you miss it, it's going to teach you how to do it. And so it kind of tied in with arrays and visuals for second graders of how to do that. The one that I was really excited about that Stephanie told me about is for coaching basketball this year, I always leave during science time. And so on the science tab, I've clicked that one. And I told her when I have a substitute in there, it was really nice and easy to go to science. But I said they were working on non-living things, which for second graders, non-living versus living, they did okay. She said in here, and she showed how you can assign which lesson you want them to do. So if I remember right, I might need your help. I'm in science and lessons, right? Okay. And right now you can see they're on living and non-living things, and I can click on assign, and I have assigned them some things already based on our last science unit, but like I'm just gonna click entire class and see what it shows you. Grade 2. And so it's all the same pathway. So like once you do this once, it's the same pathway every time. So like if you want to make a worksheet for math, reading, whatever, it's the same step, same pathway. If you want to assign something, whether it's science, math, reading, it's the same pathway. You're going to click what class you want it in, okay? And then I clicked entire class, and then right here are some units, and I went into curriculum settings and changed them to the next generation science standards. So like we just did solids. Have I missed it? Right here? Is this where it is? Science isn't my forte. Okay, so same thing, I click physical science, which would be like our topic, and then matter, and it breaks it down. So say I want them to do matter, I'm just gonna click it here and click assign, and it says where do you want the lessons placed on their sequence, top, bottom, by lessons grade level. So I'm just gonna do top. And then I've assigned it to them, so when they log in for science, if I'm gone for basketball, they're working on matter, and we've already covered it, and so they're not just working on something that doesn't tie into class. So that's one new thing that I tried this year. Last year, I did language. Does anyone do language tab in their class?
I did last year.
Did you like it?
My
Yeah.
kids made good gains with it, really good gains.
My kids liked it because they were amazed at what they were learning. Like, you know, we might have been doing nouns, like, okay, what's a noun? And someone's like, it's a person, place, or thing, and then you have 5 students who don't understand what a noun is. So we use this in our center time. We do the language tab. The other one that I'm gonna try is the phonics. With the Wonders curriculum, I have so many different levels within phonics. Like, I've differentiated spelling lists, and I put those in here as well to try. And I can show you as a student version here in just a second. But the phonics, it was really hard for me to break as many groups as I needed. And so when they log into any of these the first time, they're gonna be taking a placement test, just like they would on iStation. And I think it's blue and green. I think it's almost, is that what iStation is, blue and green? But I think you're blue on your placement, and it'll tell you when you're done. And like on my language, I've had kids that have placed at 3rd grade already way back in October. And they see that, and that highly motivates them. And then I have some, you know, that obviously don't see that. And so I tell them it's a goal, move it by, I say a 10th, but then I have to explain, move that 3 up, one more number by the next 2 weeks. And so my little second graders are highly motivated by it. Down here under student motivation is where they get motivated. So I have that on part D. One thing I did with the badges was I printed them, non-color of course, and I made a pictograph on the board. And then by Friday I gave a reward for whoever had like the most badges. I will tell you it was very hard to keep up with, because depending on how much time they spend at home, you could be printing badges every day. Especially if you don't go into your curriculum settings and update how many minutes you have to do or whatever to earn a badge. The other thing I did was I found out you could print them as a trading card. And so I started printing them as trading cards, hole punching them and putting them on a 3-ring little clip. And then they were carrying around, you know, like back in the day when Pokemon cards were cool. Yeah, okay, so I've done that. Then right here is games, obviously. I have assigned my students some game time as a reward, like on Fridays during our center time, even though they didn't work for it. But what I do is I give them like 4 minutes, just enough to get hooked. And then they're like, can we have more? And I'm like, no, gotta earn it. I said, you can pick whichever one you want right now, and then you can hopefully earn more. Because they have to have at least a minute earned in game time before they can even open the game. So The biggest one is right here, behavior vibes. So this morning we talked about Shobi. My kids kind of text me on Shobi with their assignments. What I do when we do Moby Max time, I don't get up. I just sit at my desk and I do behavior vibes. So if you click this, you can click a student or you can click them all. And so I usually start by clicking them all and I click give vibe. And there's good vibes and bad vibes. And they have them categorized. So I might say participation, I would click that and I'd write like get to work. And I'd hit send vibe. And right on their screen it'll pop up and say participation, get to work. Okay, so everyone's good and they're going. And then I see little Johnny isn't getting his work done. He's off task. So I'd click bad vibe, off task, and I'd say, you need to stop talking to your neighbor, and hit send vibe. And so you can watch him, and they're sitting there, and then he gets that, and it pops up, and he's like, and then he just gets to work. No one knows I even said anything. But then my kids, you know, second grade, they aren't quiet. They're like, hey, Miss Brubaker, something just popped up. And I'm like, it's good. So, for the first time, that part they can't send back to you. But if you click, if you're on the teacher one, Messenger, if you click that, this is where you can have like Yahoo Messenger back with your kids, back and forth. So, I'll be honest, my kids kind of get off task. Like on the Shobi one, I have to tell them, you can't send me one unless you're saying you're done with your corrections. Other than that, I don't want you to send me any. So, and they're the ones that have taught me things on here. And so I've gotten them in to just play around. The one that I thought was really cool for conference time, and it's one of those, it's just a test, is reading level assessment. And so I do have 2 students that I had play around on here. So their first test, like this student was a 3.0, his last test was a 3.3. So it shows the increase by 0.3%, and this is what they're calling their reading instructional level. But if you click on the student, it doesn't show you anything other than a little graph showing, and it'll come over here maybe, there you go. A little graph showing improvement. So kind of similar to iStation, except you don't get to see what they're working on unless you've assigned it to them, or you can see it via their placement tests. Okay, so like my kids have taken a placement for the first one for math, and then it has placed them where they need to be. For science, I want to place them where I want them to be. So I would take the placement off and assign them in science.
I don't think there's a place for science.
Is there not? Okay. See, in math there is, so you can take that off and you can assign what you want if you don't want to give the placement. And I think we talked about at the beginning of the year, talking about do we want to give them the placement over, do we want to start them over? So that's in your curriculum settings, or you can click in math and do it there too.
And I haven't played with it, but there's a student response system, and I'm assuming it's like...
I thought it was like clickers.
Yeah, but I haven't messed with it like...
Let's see. Oh, it says if they have computers, tablets, or smartphones, you want them to use student response system, grab problems. So this would be what I'm thinking. You could use the worksheet because it says you can grab problems from Moby or make your own, and they answer each question. You'll instantly be able to see who gets it and who's struggling. So I don't even think you need clickers.
No, I think it's like on your iPad, like maybe
Yeah.
like a Hoot, or it would be maybe.
Yeah.
But
And
like
that's the
Moby
one
Max
thing that
version.
I think we need to decide kind of too is, like I talked about the spelling one. I would like my kids to do the spelling practice in there because I'm thinking as a second grader, it could get kind of overwhelming if you're doing Moby Max, if you're doing iStation, if you're doing Shobi, if you're doing all these different ones. This one as a second grader, they could pretty much do probably everything I want them to do other than Shobi right here. But then I have to think, and that was one of my questions was for spelling, do I want them to do spelling on here if then when they get to 3rd grade they're going to do A+ spelling? I'm not really helping. And then if 4th grade does A+ spelling too, then I wouldn't have them do spelling on here because it wouldn't help them. I looked, and I think it starts at 3rd grade. There's also one for writing. And I don't know how you guys use Wonders in writing, but we're struggling to get writing in. And so as far as standards, I only found 3rd grade writing standards for what I was looking at. But that was one too, some
iStation writing too.
things to try. So, just some
Writing's hard
things
to
to
sit
share. So thank you for letting me share with you. And that's all I got.